Okay, we are live. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our New Year's, post-New Year's, whatever you want to call it. It's our first episode of 2015. This is Security on In30, and this is episode 59, I think. And we want to talk about the NSA Christmas Present that was given to us right before Christmas Day. I guess it was that time that people were getting ready to celebrate Christmas, so no one would read it. But I'm Jewish. I still didn't read it, but I knew about it. So that's what we're looking at. But first, Tom had some information about the Sony hack. And basically, we still don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So we had the FBI say, oh, it's totally North Korea, it's got to be North Korea. And when this thing came out, it was weird because when they took the Korean text and they had a native Korean speaker read it, they said, look, this is kind of not really gibberish, but it sounds like it was written by either a really bad computerized translator or a very young person, like a 5-year-old or something. So it didn't really make a lot of sense that it would be Korean in origin. Maybe they were just trying to pass the buck. The FBI said, no, it's totally North Korea. They're totally doing that. And security experts all over the world are now saying, yeah, it doesn't look that way. We can't confirm or deny anything, but we really don't think it's North Koreans that have hacked Sony. So in the end, we're still nowhere farther than we were before, but yeah, there's some, I wouldn't call it infighting, but there's some disagreements in the security community.
Did you watch the interview?
I did not, actually. The movie never really pertained to me. Like, I was never really interested in it. I was just like, okay, so it's going to be some low-budget slapstick comedy thing. All right. Frankly, this whole thing with the Sony hack in North Korea has done more for that movie than their marketing team has ever could have. I guarantee you more people saw the interview because of all the drama surrounding it and not because they were actually they were interested in the movie.
I think it's more of, you're right, I agree with you. I wasn't a fan. I looked at it, I said, this is stupid, this is not worth it. And it almost kind of forced me, I almost bought it on the sense that, you know what, I want to defend freedom. And then everyone's posting, your freedom is not to buy it. And I kind of agreed with it. But what I am really happy about are the numbers. They said something, I saw a $1 million number, or maybe I saw 15 million. I can't remember. But this is a great case, an accidental use case or test case of selling the movie right after the movie's released, like immediately after, to say, here's the movie. You can either go to the theater for $15 a ticket, or you can buy it and watch it here. I mean, people have always said, let us be able to purchase the movie right after we leave the theater, or not rent it, but maybe purchase it on Play or the App Store or wherever to watch it. And I think it showed that this could be a viable strategy.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong on this, but I believe the interview on its internet launch day made $1 million. Now, how that compares to the budget of the movie, I'm not entirely sure, but, it's not an insignificant number. Is every movie going to make $1 million out of the gate if they're released online? Probably not. But I agree. It's a really nice test case, and we'll have to see what comes of it. For one, I would love it if, The Avengers 2 came out, and the next day, after the theatrical release, I can go on, Google Play, or I can go on Amazon, and for, $10, rent the movie for 24 hours, or for one watch, and not have to go to the theater and not have to pay the, $15 in snacks and the nearly now $20 ticket. I would love to just sit down on my couch and watch the movie for a little bit cheaper. I would totally.
Well, maybe not the next day, but maybe like the second weekend.
Yeah.
Let them get their money. I'm all for people getting their money and going to the theater. I am not. I used to be a movie person. I am not a movie person. I don't have the energy to go to a theater. So for me to say, here's a really good movie, you know what, I can watch it at home, I'm all for it. And I know a lot of families who've said basically the same thing. It's we'll pay $50 for the movie. It doesn't matter, because to take 4 people to the theater with kids and everything else, you know what? Make it before the actual official release. Make it time and a half. Make it enough money to say, hey, I'd rather watch this at home. But whatever. But I hope it works out. I hope that with all of this, clearly they're not going to make their money back. But I'm hoping through all of this that it at least shows that that having movies be released either simultaneously or delayed a little bit may be a viable business model.
Yeah, and there is a contingency of people out there that say, well, you can't release a movie digitally. Even a week after it comes out, because it'll be pirated and people will just go to torrent sites, or they'll go pull it down from the internet or watch it illegally on some weird streaming site, right away, and they won't ever pay for the movie. What this has shown, that the interview was made, a not insignificant pile of money by releasing online, is piracy doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The people who are going to pay for it are going to pay for it. The people who aren't just aren't. And if they watch it anyway, you weren't ever going to get those dollars. So I hope this kind of pushes things in the right direction to either faster to digital or digital first, or maybe even, in the event of low-budget films, digital-only releases. So we might see, instead of straight to VHS movies, we might see straight to the internet, which that could be good or bad.
I want straight to, whatever it is, either straight to the internet, straight to Netflix, whatever it is, because I think there's something to be said there. So, so we have nothing else left on the interview. I mean, they assumed it was North Korea, then they didn't, then they took it back, and it looks like it is, but I don't know. I think, not that this is a good idea that they got hacked, but I think that, once again, security is tough, and the Sony CEO has to, I guess, answer some really hard questions in the next few weeks. Yeah,
and this kind of thing, it's a black mark on your record. Now, we have seen companies say, well, it'll cost, a lot of money to protect ourselves against a breach like this, and it'll cost us, a little bit of money if we just have to deal with the fallout after the fact. So we would much rather just deal with the fallout and not worry about any sort of protection or increased security measures. We'll see how this turns out, because this was not a low-profile breach. Again, it's not an everyday hack at all. This is kind of a big deal in the world of security right now.
Well,
this is a very big.
If you look at it, what we're finding out is that Sony is saying, well, we wanted information to be easier spread across, which everyone agrees with. You want information to be spread across easily internally of the company. But from what we're finding out, people were putting their passwords under the keyboard, their passwords were passwords, and as much as I want to say, you're right, it should be easy to spread the information, I think it was just a little too easy. And with that said, this is the third black mark that Sony has, and I think we talked about it last week. And didn't the PSN network go down on Christmas Day also?
Very soon. It was either very soon after or right before. But yeah, PSN was down for 3 weeks, 4 weeks following the PlayStation hacks. I mean, Sony's had several opportunities to correct their security posture, essentially. They've had several opportunities to say, all right, that's it. We're getting serious about security. We're going to build the proper systems. We're going to hire the right people. But none of that has happened that we've seen. And, that said, this attack, the most recent attack, is something that's not only extremely difficult to defend against, but almost impossible. So I can't really say that even if they did everything correctly, this wouldn't have happened, because it probably would have. But they would at least be able to point to their security appliances or their policies or the way they've structured their network, and they said, look, we did get hacked. Someone really, really, really wanted to tear us down, but we made it this much more difficult for them. And right now, we haven't seen that part. We haven't seen them make it more difficult for people to get what they're after inside their network. And that's the part that troubles me.
So, well, I think we're going to find out not more about Sony, but we're going to hear a lot of security information regarding this, I guess, in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, that's a good thing. The next topic I want to talk about is our Christmas present from, what did I say, from the NSA, basically saying that they screwed up, that there was a lot of inappropriate surveillance of Americans that was not warranted, that was not right.
Yeah, this it's honestly it's a lot of the same stuff that we've seen before. That it's just now in an official document that we can point to specific articles in it and say, look, these things are happening. Not that they've just said so, that Congress has accused them of something and they've said, yeah, that happens sometimes. But we now have, proof in a paper that they gave to us on Christmas Eve, like some sort of weird super spy agency, Santa Claus. And this stuff is impressive in its amount of just sheer illegal activity. This is 12 years worth of internal reports from the NSA on how they've messed up and things that they've done that are morally wrong, illegal, and a bunch of both. For instance, there was an NSA analyst that was searching her husband's telephone directory without his knowledge to make sure he wasn't doing anything nefarious or wrong. And she wasn't fired, but she's been advised to cease her activities. This was in 2012. This is not, too far back. And
well, there was a before. It was probably before Snowden leaked.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're going through this document. There is, and it's not an easy document to get through. It's filled with giant acronyms and government speak essentially. But it details just a lot of really crazy, messed up things that have been happening that no one wanted out in the open. And the fact that they released this on Christmas Eve is very telling. They don't want people to read this report. They don't want anyone to take it seriously. They really don't want Congress taking this report, getting a hold of it, reading through it, and then saying, oh, we need to do something about the NSA.
Well, the government, didn't they just, I mean, this also came out the same week, something about Congress re-upped their position that they liked the NSA and they liked what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's anytime what it sounds like what they're doing is anytime they catch a terrorist or anything with terrorism, they want to float the idea that we caught them by using intelligence.
Yeah.
And it's not. And yes, everyone wants to feel safe, and we're not saying not to feel safe, but it sounds like, yeah, the Congress quietly expands NSA powers for spying on Americans because it's going to stop terrorism. But yet the following week we find out that, yeah, while they're doing their job, they're also not doing their job. They're actually spying on you. And this wasn't a scorned contractor who fled to Russia. It's an actual government report that's based that it had to be pulled out from a court order from the ACLU, but that's what we're finding out.
Yeah, and it's that kind of thing. It's this legitimacy of this document that's come out, from the horse's mouth, that we can look at this and say, okay, this is pretty messed up. Should we be taking a closer look at, tightening the reins on these guys or shutting them down, shutting this whole program down? I'm in favor of the latter. The most simple reason I can give is if someone wants this data, they'll get it. Will it be easy? Probably not, but the data is housed somewhere, and imagine what happens if, a really nefarious group gets this. Imagine if organized crime groups, cyber crime groups in Russia, get a hold of this, and they're able to really accurately pinpoint attacks at people using phishing scams. I mean, we can go down the list of examples, but so according to this report, there were I'm trying to get all my facts straight here because there's a lot in this.
Well, I'll say something here. This I'm looking at. Congress quietly expands NSA powers for spying on Americans, and it only looks like it passed 325 to 100, which clearly means that either majority of Congress wants this, and when I talk to people, people always say, you know what, the government's looking at us, we get it, there's nothing we can do, so you know what, let's look at everybody. So basically, they're agreeing with the fact that they can't do anything about it. So if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, I think that's a defeatist attitude, and it's the wrong stance to take. And frankly, it's not just about us, right? It's not just about Americans. It's about people all over the world and the illegal data collection that we have against people. I mean, come on, we were tapping the phone of Angela Merkel and her assistants and her staff. That's, for a country we consider our ally, I don't think we should be spying on them. And it's pretty naive of me to say, but I don't think that should happen. That seems like kind of a nasty thing to do. So here's an NSA audit, and I'm reading this on techdirt.com. They've got a lot of great articles on this thing, and they just keep making articles as they read through this giant document. The NSA audit obtained by the Post, dated May 2012, counted 2,776 incidents in the preceding 12 months of unauthorized collection, storage, access to, or distribution of legally protected communications. They do say most of them were unintentional, but that's nearly 3,000 times that they have broken procedure, policy, or the law in accessing communications that they had no right to. They said the most serious incidents included a violation of a court order or unauthorized use of data about more than 3,000 Americans and green card holders. This is pretty big. And this details a lot of really messed up stuff. And the NSA, they've responded to this section in particular, saying, look, basically they said, we're only human, right? We make mistakes too. And I get it. And that's the point. Right? You are only human. You're not perfect. And the system's not going to be perfect. And we shouldn't expect it to be perfect. And frankly, it shouldn't exist. If we can't expect to be protected by this thing, if we can't expect this thing to actually work, because we know clearly it doesn't catch any terrorists. It doesn't benefit us in any way. Instead, there's a lot of people caught in the crossfire. We shouldn't have it. There are more negatives than positives to this thing. And it costs a bunch of money.
Well, I want some positive PR from these government agencies to say, hey, yes, we caught these bad guys. I think they should publicize when their intelligence gathering actually helped us solve something, because I think that would go a long way in saying that they're using this for a positive instead of just capturing all this information.
They've tried that, though. They've tried that a couple times, and when we go back through the reports, we say, this guy wasn't caught because we're doing wireline surveillance. This guy was caught because of good old-fashioned police work and good old-fashioned investigation and detectives. I think there's been maybe one that we can actually point to say, yeah, okay, our surveillance actually did catch this guy. But most of this is just due to good old-fashioned police work.
Well, with the time left, the other part of the report that was really scary was basically the NSA saying we broke HTTPS. HTTPS doesn't bother us anymore. We broke basically all VPN traffic, and I think that we can decrypt a lot of Tor. Am I wrong on the Tor thing?
Yeah, so Tor, they're actually, in the EFF has actually put out a nice list of technologies which the NSA has admitted themselves that they can't break into, and that causes them a lot of headache. Tor is one of those things. Now, you can use browser exploits and send people to pages that will de-anonymize them, that'll run Flash on their computer and give the actual IP address, or run some JavaScript and download some malware to their computer through a zero-day browser exploit. That stuff works, but actually de-anonymizing the Tor network, they've had a lot of issues trying to do that. Tor is pretty battle-hardened. It's not perfect, but it's really good.
But
They also said VPN, and this really bums me out. VPN doesn't help at all because they've issued all kinds of letters and orders to the VPN companies to put tracking devices inside of the VPN providers, or to gain access to their networks or other things. So VPN doesn't bother them at all. Now, they did say PGP, it's great. They love PGP. Absolutely love, or well, they hate PGP, but we love it. Because they haven't been able to crack PGP. So there we go. We're winning a little bit. There are some things that we can make better, and some things are battle hardened and tested true.
Yeah, recently the problem with me with PGP was that they don't have a Yosemite client, so they don't have an OS 10.10 client yet. They're in beta, and every once in a while I like to test it out to make sure it's working. And I was sending it to a friend of mine, and it wasn't working in the email. So I had to do a whole new thing to learn how to encrypt the text file and decrypt the text file and sign it properly and everything else. And it really, really gets to the point that it is still way too difficult for the average person.
Right.
And that's where it gets to, and that's where the problem really lies, in the fact that to try and get the average person, and not even the average person, someone who knows what they're doing, to figure this stuff out and to use it daily and learn how to quickly navigate through it, it is not fun and not easy.
If you're a programmer out there, if you're a UI designer or a UX guy, and you want to help the security community, the number one thing you could ever do is try to make PGP usable by normal people. Make it brain dead simple, and that will help out everyone. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at user interface design, and I've been thinking about this problem a lot, but it's a tough nut to crack because we've been trying for years.
No, well, the problem is that it would have to be open source, so you're not really making money on it in that case.
Right.
Or there's less money to be made. All this stuff, and then so it has to look pretty. You have to get the time to do all the stuff, and then it's one of those technologies that people have to learn, and no matter how much we do, we're still finding out that people are just lazy and just want things to work.
Yeah. So if you make it like SSL, where it just works out of the box and people don't ever see it, you've won. That's how you win at security, is you make something so transparent and dumb and stupid simple, and it works without people even knowing it works. You've won.
I mean, basically, iMessage works, and it's secure as we know, because it just works. I mean, there was no exchanging of keys, there was no this, there was no that, and for the most part, there hasn't been any problems unless you switch back, go from iPhone to Android, but that's basically in the key exchange.
Right.
I mean, it works. Apple has control over it. They claim that they can't decrypt it, but again, like we said, if you're going to do it, it has to be open source.
Yeah.
And if it's not open source means that you're losing you're leaving a lot of money on the table. But remember, you're doing this for a good cause.
You're gaining reputation, and people. If you make something open source and you give it away for free, it becomes really big and popular. If you wanted to get a big job at Google, at a security company, or at anything, your reputation will carry you. And that's what I've learned by developing open source software.
Absolutely. I mean, because there are people that want that technology and they want to be able to say that they're secure, and yeah. So if you can develop something, I want a Google off-the-record client. I want to be able to do everything off the record. And Google, I don't know if they're trying, but if you hear us, Google, please, let's do that.
Yeah, we really need Hangouts to be trust no one, and that would be huge.
So,
or else, we'll all just leave and go to WhatsApp.
Yeah. And again, I keep on saying the problem with WhatsApp and the problem with Threema and the problem with all of these is that I want a desktop client. Make it happen. I want both. I want it to happen on both clients, desktop and mobile. But I'm gonna have. I think I'm starting to realize that it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna have to choose one and go from there.
It's a difficult problem to solve.
So, I mean, other than that, I have nothing else. I mean, I just have the usual. It's 2015. I think that we should, if you haven't changed passwords, make it your New Year's resolution to change some passwords. Make it your year to become more secure. Just one thing. Just one thing. Change. Get a password manager. Make more than just one password. Just think of, just question before you just submit passwords in the clear. Just do one thing to make your life better, and I think it'll go far.
Yep.
So, anything else?
I think that's about it.
I mean, we're a little short on time. Well, we have 4 minutes left, but I figure short episode, it's okay. Okay.
And, Happy New Year, everyone.
Oh, yeah. First episode of 2015 is done. We will see you next week.